want to find peace for my son because I don't believe that he just climbed a tree and froze to death. So that's all we're trying to do, is trying to just get the truth. So that's why we're reaching out. So if you could please help us, we greatly appreciate it.
19-year-old Jason Abarca was found hanging upside down in a tree, leaving his family with countless unanswered questions. How did he end up there? They believe foul play was involved. In our last episode, we showed you the location where he was found. Jason went missing on December 13th, 2023. His body wasn't discovered until April 29th, 2024. The vehicle he was driving was found in a ditch, and about 1,000 yards away is where he was found in the tree. On December 13th, it was a very cold night. When his body was found, his coat was found on the ground. His family doesn't believe that he climbed this tree and fell into the crook of it. In this documentary, we interview his family who talk about certain red flags that occurred. They're absolutely devastated. Not only did they have to bury their son, but Jason's older brother Corey took his life 6 months before Jason disappeared December 13th. They were very close. Jason's family believes that his brother's death caused him to leave their house that day on December 13th. This family needs your help. There's very little media attention about their case. If you know someone that can help them, or you yourself have any advice, please comment below. And also don't forget to donate so that they can hire a private investigator. I have the link to the GoFundMe down below.
As you examine the photographs, your eyes are drawn to his foot, the angle, the position. There's no way he could have climbed the tree and fallen in such a way to end up like that. Physics alone defies the explanation. His own body weight should have carried him straight to the ground. Yet, here he is, suspended in a manner that makes no sense. The foot, supposedly wedged in the crook of the tree, isn't even centered as they claimed. It's off. Something doesn't add up here. And then there are the photos. They don't lie.
In today's episode, I document Jason's parents speaking with producer Manny Monterey. His projects have aired on major platforms like HBO, A&E, PBS, and the History Channel. Over the past 15 years, Manny has remained passionately committed to veteran causes, earning national recognition for his contributions.
Corey was appointed to be captain. He was a captain in the Army. He was stationed in Lacey, Washington at Joint Base Lewis McChord. And no, he didn't let any of us know that he was having any issues, didn't reach out. I think it was more of a pride thing, which I believe that is a problem. With anyone prior that joins the military, they don't want to say, oh, I'm getting harassed, or I'm getting bullied, or I'm getting, anything. So he didn't let his brothers know, his sister, me, not no one know what was happening. Unfortunately, on May 24th of last year, 2023, he took a and himself
On base?
on base. He'd already been diagnosed with depression, homicidal and suicidal thoughts since at least August of 2022. He was an MP, military police. His weapon was removed from him. He could no longer have a weapon as of August or September of 2022. Like you've already had experience in this. How many people, that join our military that are trying to serve us and have all different types of issues have to feel the only way out is to themselves, right? Instead of the Army or Navy or Marines or Air Force protecting them, or National Guard protecting them. I would really like to try to create a bill where when anyone signs up to the military, that they are required to give 2 emergency contacts. And if they ever are diagnosed with depression, homicidal, suicidal, whatever tendencies, that those 2 emergency contacts are contacted to be there for them, regardless of HIPAA. HIPAA is a monster. I couldn't even help my 19-year-old son, who we'll talk about later. HIPAA will, as soon as you turn 18, you're an adult. Okay, right. Many 18-year-olds are not adults, as we know. But regarding Corey, none of us had any idea. He was a triathlete. He was on the honor roll. He got a sports scholarship and merit scholarship to go to college. He graduated on the dean's list with a psychology and occupational therapy degree. His plan was to go to medical school. He was accepted and going to go to school in August of last year in Florida. And then he took his life in May. I would like to make the congressman or whoever I need to talk to create a bill where anyone who joins the military, I don't care how old you are, if you just graduated high school or you're 30 and decide to join the military, that you are required to give 2 emergency contacts so that would never happen. That if you are diagnosed with depression, suicidal, whatever it is, like those major ones,
Right.
like, those major things, that those 2 people are called in your family or whether they're a friend or your cousin, whatever it is, and tell them, look, your
And
son, yes, and override HIPAA for
HIPAA.
2 people, emergency
Right.
people, okay? Override HIPAA because HIPAA, in a lot of ways, I believe it's almost as a crutch. I know it saves, I used to work in the medical field for 15 years. I realize what it is. It's to protect so no one can know what's going on with you. That's fine. However, in this instance, how many people, how many kids of parents have joined the military and they couldn't handle it and they just themselves? Okay, how many people? And I'm sure that either their commanding officer, their sergeant, their doctor, their therapist probably knew. So why can't there be that clause or that safe net that we're going to reach out to 2 people that we believe care about you. Now after that, if they do something, that's on them. And
did he receive medical treatment and
yes,
released?
2,200 pages.
Right.
2,200 pages I have of medical documents of him going to see therapists, see psychologists, psychiatrists.
Medication.
Yes.
And you tell me a little bit more about your son Jason and how old he was and what happened.
So Jason was 19 years old. Corey and Jason were very close. Corey always would check on Jason, check on my daughter Karina. Karina's a year younger than Jason. So I have 6 children, and Corey was one that always checked on his younger siblings. So I believe that's why Jason felt so, not saying that my other sons didn't feel hurt, but it really affected him. And I remember the day in Germantown when the casualty officer brought it was a big, huge type of crate thing that had all of my son Corey's personal items from his desk and many other things, his wallet, his iPhone watch, all those things. And Jason was home. We had got home from work, and so the casualty officer had to show me, and because I have dogs, he couldn't go inside, so he had to open it out front, and Jason helped me to bring it then in the house. And once we brought it in the house, I was crying, and he hugged me and said, "I'm sorry that you have to go through this, Mama. I'm sorry." So that was, I believe, probably in maybe like July or August when that casualty officer came and brought me that. Corey died May 24th, 2023. And then Jason just really couldn't understand why Corey wanted to kill himself. And Jason, as I think it was in middle school, probably 7th or 8th grade, was prescribed Adderall because Adderall supposedly helps you concentrate. So he didn't really want to take it because he was a skinny kid. So I had to almost, tell him, like, look, they want you to take this and see if it'll help you with your classes to concentrate. So he did take it some, and it did end up helping some. But later in high school, he was bullied and some things happened to him. So the last time he was prescribed Adderall was in Germantown, Maryland, before we moved here to Hagerstown, by a primary care doctor that I'd actually asked not to give him Adderall. So a doctor that he had just started seeing that was my primary care doctor, because Jason was no longer at a pediatric state, right? So I told him, okay, because he kept asking me, I need Adderall, I need Adderall. And I said, well, Jason, you're not in school anymore. You graduated high school. Like, he says, well, it'll help me. And, I want to work out and I want to be able to concentrate, So he just kept like asking me so much. So I gave him a physical appointment with my primary care doctor. I saw my primary care doctor first, and I said, look, my other son was 26-year-old. He is 26 years old. He took his own life, and please, Jason is very depressed about that. Like, he's having anxiety, he's having different issues. But please do not. He's gonna ask you to prescribe him Adderall. Please do not, because I feel like he misuses the Adderall. Please do not prescribe him. If you want to prescribe him something else for anxiety or something, but instead, he saw Jason and prescribed him 1 month of Adderall and said, I will not give you any more. You need to follow up with a psychologist. So, therefore, from about August of 2023, Jason had 1 bottle of Adderall. 1 bottle is 1 month's worth, which would have 30 pills. He saved that bottle and would take it, I guess, to like maybe pump himself up when he needed to or something. I did not know until after Jason died on December 13th, 2023, that Adderall, when you overtake it, turns into meth in your body. So I believe that my husband and I were in Dominican Republic on our anniversary. We went for 4 days. Saturday morning, December 10th, I believe it was, I hugged Jason in the kitchen here, and I told him, Jason, don't worry, you can text me, call me. We'll be back Wednesday. Today's Saturday, we'll be back. You'll be fine. There's plenty of food here, whatever. And, he said, okay. And I said, I love you, Jason. And he said, I love you, Mama. And he hugged me. And that was it. However, Karina then, my daughter, texted me and said that Jason was acting strange. He was letting our dog that I had to put to sleep in January, she had this tumor on her chest, and she was supposed to only stay over here in the gated area. He was letting her go upstairs, letting her go on my white couches, and her chest was bleeding some. Okay, so my daughter Karina was like, I don't know why he's doing this, da-da-da. And I tried to text Jason, and he just, he was just acting strange. So I was worried that, I don't know what was wrong, but I figured, okay, well, and then I texted him the morning of December 13th, hey, we're about to get on the plane. When I come home, I can bring some food home, or we can order some food when I get there, And he said, okay, Mama, thanks. That was one of the last texts I have from him is, okay, Mama, thanks. So on the doorbell camera at 3:13 p.m. on December 13th, 2023, we saw that he left. He went out, left. He had an accident in his car that was in his name in November, sometime in November. And so he had a rental car that was in my name because he wasn't 21 yet. So he left in that rental car and drove down 81. He doesn't know where he was going. He's never been that way. He just kept driving down 81, ended up in Winchester, Virginia. I still don't really know how, but he wrecked the rental car, then ran out of the rental car to some McDonald's, and he had taken a kitchen knife from my kitchen and scared, I think, more than one person to try to get into their car because he wanted to just keep going. Eventually got a lady to get out of her maroon colored older Toyota Camry, took the car. Some people at McDonald's saw what he did and they started chasing after him. They called 911, and Shenandoah County also was involved, and one of the people that was chasing Jason said, oh, I have a gun and I'm not afraid to use it, so they were chasing him. Remember, he's in a psychotic episode, Adderall-induced psychotic episode, out of his mind, paranoid, I don't get a phone call until 5:45 that evening from a detective from Winchester asking me.
You are in the.
I'm on the way. No, we're on the way home.
Yeah, we had just
you're on the way back.
We're on the way back from the airport. It was 5:45. We would be home around 6:10. And he asked me, do you have a rental car? And I said, yes. Right away, I was, I already knew something was wrong. I said, why? Well, do you know a Jason Abarca? Yes, that's my son. Okay, well, I need to let you know there's been an accident, and, and he left his wallet in the rental car and an empty Adderall pill bottle. So my husband is my witness. I was starting to cry already. And I told him that Jason is very depressed because his brother, a captain in the army, committed suicide about 6 months ago. And if you found an empty Adderall pill bottle, that means he took some Adderall. So he's out of his mind. He's having a mental breakdown. Please, like, can you please help him? Like, what's happening? And he says, well, and then he told me that allegedly, he had a kitchen knife, took a car from some lady, and that they found that car then wrecked in Star Tannery, Virginia. So I kept asking, okay, well, what are you guys going to do? It's dark. He doesn't know where he is. He has no idea. Oh, well, does he have a cell phone? I said, well, if you're saying that he had Adderall, I'm pretty sure he probably destroyed his cell phone before he even left my house, because he'd had a prior episode 2 years earlier where it's like you become so paranoid and he thinks someone's following him. So he destroys the cell phone. And even when the police later checked the cell phone thing, they said the last time there was a cell phone ping or whatever was at 3 whatever when he left. After that, there was no other ping. And every time I would text him, it was green. Like, we have iPhones, so like it's blue to blue when the phone's on, whatever. So I asked him, like, please, where is that car wrecked at? Like, what are you guys gonna do? He said, oh, I can't tell you where it's at because right now he's a wanted fugitive. So later I found out that there was an alert that was sent out to that area. Be on the alert for a 19-year-old Hispanic male wanted for stabbing and carjacking. Okay? So that was the alert told to all these people. My son did not speak Spanish. Yes, he's part Hispanic. His father's from El Salvador, but he doesn't speak Spanish. He didn't speak Spanish. Like, he looks, probably he could be part Hispanic. He was whiter, fairer skinned than me. Okay, so to just judge him, whatever. So because they use that word Hispanic, like, I don't know. Like, were people judging him? Were people like, oh, let's go get him? Like, I don't know. When the car was found, the back of the car is totally smashed in. I don't know if you've seen pictures. I asked the police, what did you not see that? Did someone like make him wreck and go off the road? Oh, no one, no one hit him. No one hit him. So I don't know how that got there. I'm just asking questions. I have so many unanswered questions. That was on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. So the next day, Thursday morning, I couldn't sleep the whole night. I called Hagerstown police to report my son missing. They actually came out and, oh, no, I forgot. So December 13th, that evening, Hagerstown police come and try to raid my house. Like 20 cops outside. I'm crying. I open the door. What? Oh, we heard on the radio, and I'm sure that's their job. That's what they were trying to do. I said, yeah, you want to come in? I said, I know my son is probably either freezing to death in the woods somewhere or dead. Like that, you need to go look in Star Tannery, Virginia. So they all left. So then Thursday morning, all I could do,
Did they search your house?
I let
They
two
didn't
come
search your house,
in. Right, I let two come in, but after they talked to me and my daughter, like they knew, like, okay, yeah, he's not here.
Right.
So then Thursday morning, I call Hagerstown police to try to report him missing. A lady comes out and says, I'm sorry, but we can't report him missing because he's a wanted fugitive in Virginia. Okay, fine. I kept trying to call that detective that had called me at 5:45. Even that night, December 13th, he wouldn't respond to my text, wouldn't respond to my calls at all. Nothing. Friday then, finally, I find out that the detective that was assigned to the case is a different one that had called me Wednesday night. So my husband and I went to try to talk to him in Winchester. We found out the address of approximately where he had wrecked the car. I can't remember. I think that was from Shenandoah Police. but it wasn't the exact address. So we went and looked down the road where supposedly he had, these people were chasing him. He started going through people's yards to try to get away from the people that were chasing him. So those people had called and said, "Oh, this crazy guy, he's driving through our yards." Um, so I still, at December 15th, Friday, I still did not know the exact address of where that car he wrecked was. Finally, we went and talked to that detective, and did he even tell us then or no?
No, we got the address from
Shenandoah, right? I think it was Shenandoah County that told us.
Shenandoah gave you the address, and we went and searched first with Karina.
Oh, that was way back. That was on Tuesday. So Friday, I still didn't know where. Eventually, then the following Tuesday, whatever day that, so 15, 16, 17, like the 19th, we finally found the exact address where the car was wrecked, 1123 Star Tannery Road, Virginia. So we went there, my husband, my daughter, her cousin, and her cousin's boyfriend. And even though it said private property, it was a dirt gravel road, farms, like, I didn't care. I wanted to find my son.
Right.
It was freezing. I actually had a knee injury from my job, so I couldn't even walk really good. But we walked all around. He went up the hills trying to look. There was massive thorn bushes everywhere. We tried to look and look and look. Then we went and drove around and knocked on people's houses that lived there and showed Jason's picture and said, "Have you heard anything? Have you seen him? Da da da." And no one had seen him. They'd heard about something happened, but they didn't. Yeah. So then you move forward, and somebody reached out to my husband and says, "Oh, I heard your story." Oh, actually, what was it? The newspaper people, didn't they reach out, or did
No.
we reached out to Winchester newspaper?
You went to Winchester, the Winchester Star, and
Yeah,
you
and I
spoke
wanted to
them.
speak to them. That was on that Tuesday because I wanted to get the story out. Like, we need to find him. Like, what's happening? Because the police weren't looking for him. On Friday when we went to the Winchester to talk to that detective, I asked, please, like, he needs help. Please, what are you guys gonna do? Why can't you send, a helicopter or do something? Well, we really don't. We don't have any help. We don't have anyone.
We
We
don't have the
might be
resources.
able to use the U.S. Marshals, but there's no guarantee. Okay, so he basically, it was a done deal for him. So then, that's why Tuesday, then when we couldn't find him, we wanted to do something else, and I went to try to talk to the newspaper. I don't remember if he called me back or messaged me Tuesday or if it was probably Wednesday, but he ended up putting an article out. And that article then was seen by one of the farmers that lives right there in Star Tannery. And he reached out to my husband and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear what happened. I would like to offer our assistance to do a search. We want to help you." So then my husband told me about it. And I said, "Okay, sure. Let's. What can hurt, right?" So then that Saturday, so Jason went missing Wednesday. That Saturday, which is a week and a half later, we went out with some people from my job, some friends, my husband, my daughter. We all went out to search, and it was a farmer and his two sons, and they told us where we could search. So we walked through, and we did what was that? It was like some type of thing where you have a dot that where you are on all the planet. What is that called?
They just had us cover a section of that area.
Yes, but it's called a certain thing where
A
there's
suite?
a name.
Suite?
There's a,
Is it an app?
Is it-
It's an app.
It's
right?
an app.
Oh, an
I know-
app.
I know
Oh, I
what-
see.
I
Yeah,
know
but-
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's
But
crossing
let's
because he didn't want us to get lost.
let's backtrack a little bit. The property owner son reached out to me on Facebook Messenger, and he said that his dad was trying to get in contact with her about Jason's whereabouts.
Okay.
So that's when I reached out to him. It's like, "Hey, here's my number.
Right.
Call me. I want to speak to him." And then he's like, "Well, I'll forward your number to my dad, and he'll call you tomorrow." So that's when he called me, offered assistance to help to look for Jason, and then we all went together to their home. And when we got there, we all waited for everyone to get there, and then when we went to go search,
we were only allowed to search a certain section on Star Tannery. So you have the section where he wrecked the car.
Right.
It goes up an embankment. It goes up, and then at the top there's a field. And then when you get to the top of the field, because I walked up there before we got invited to go search, we went up there without their permission, and just because we wanted to find them. So when we got to the top of the hill, there's another hill that goes down, right? So we were only allowed to search in that section. Search and rescue team. They're the ones that conducted. On January 3rd, they conducted a command center, and then they invited Winchester PD, the state police, and they also invited Shenandoah. It was like a multi-jurisdictional search. And like she was saying, it was
only one area. I mean, one department calling the shots, or was it? I mean, obviously, it sounded like it was a combined effort, but
it was a combined effort. But the one that was calling the shots was Frederick County.
Frederick County. Okay.
Frederick County. Yeah.
Right.
The sergeant from Frederick County for search and rescue, he was calling the shots for the command center and the multi-jurisdictional.
Were you ever given an explanation as to why they did not do that 25?
No. So, jump to way forward later. If you want me to answer that, jump to way forward later. His body was found on April 29th hanging upside down from a tree. That day or the next day we went and I had questions. So I asked them, so the captain of Frederick County Sheriff's Office and the sergeant and there was another guy, deputy, were in the room. I asked, please, can I record this conversation? Only because I don't want to forget anything, and they allowed us to record it. One of the questions was that, why on January 3rd, wasn't it a perfect 25 radius search? He really could not give me any reason, not at all.
You know why I think he couldn't answer that directly? Because where the car was, and there was an incident where one of the property owners reached out to Frederick County because they said that someone went inside their barn. That barn was west of where the car was wrecked. It was more west. It wasn't going up where they found Jason. So that property owner reached out to Frederick County and said that there was someone that had went inside his barn and disturbed, that there was footfalls and they disturbed his toolbox, and that there was footfalls coming outside of the barn going into the road. So that, to me, why he couldn't answer is because maybe he was steered more west away from where the body was. That's my assumption. That's what I gather from why he couldn't answer that. He couldn't answer it directly.
3 agencies reported to that crash site on Star Tannery Road where Jason wrecked that car. All 3 agencies, Shenandoah, Frederick County, and Winchester PD reported to that crash site. And you're telling me that all 3 agencies did not have body cams rolling? Come on. This is where an outside agency has to come in and investigate why those 3 agencies were not recording their body cams. The issue I have is you have an anthropologist who comes in to look at the skull fracture in Jason's head, and he gives his 3 scenarios of what could have potentially happened to him. And he gives one as him hitting his head in the car that he wrecked on Star Tannery. The issue I have with that is he didn't even see pictures of the car, because he even said in the report that he doesn't know what happened to the car. He doesn't know the state of the car. So he just gave a complete guess of what could have happened to him in that car. That's why I keep saying that there's some kind of influence that happened with influencing Jason's cause of death, which, by the way, was deemed undetermined. The big issue I have with Frederick County is they conducted the first search 3 weeks after Jason went missing, which was January 3rd, 2024. After that, they waited 4 months to do the second search. 4 months. boil it down to. The excuse they kept giving us was that Winchester PD told them that Jason was there, Jason was not there, Jason was there, Jason was not there. So they went by what Winchester PD told them when Jason crashed that car in their jurisdiction. So they should have done everything in their power to go look for him instead of waiting 4 months.
In February, my good high school friend that I went to high school with, she lives in Tennessee, she's an RN. She told me she has a friend that has search and rescue dogs and that she has rescued many people and done well. She connected me with her. She then said, "Give me the state trooper's phone number so I can reach out. I need your son's date of birth, da 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 da." So I told the state trooper. I also told the sergeant from Frederick County Sheriff's Office, "This is her name. She wants to help. Please, can you talk to her?" They refused to let her help. Okay, why? Why would you refuse if someone wants to help and they are offering to help to find this woman's son that's probably harassing your phone because I was texting them all the time, calling them. When are you gonna find? Why wouldn't you just give her the chance to do it? Let those people that live there know, hey, we're gonna come out with this lady and her search dogs, and they just want to search the area, and that's it.
Right.
Why wouldn't they? That's why I have so many unanswered questions. Why didn't you let her do it? At least then I could have found, she would have found my son. I could have said goodbye to him. They found him April 29th. His body was decomposing. I don't still want to see the pictures because I can't.
Who found him?
Frederick County.
They did the 50% radius search. 50%.
But
April 29th, almost 5 months later.
So that's, now that she says that, because I see it logically. It's like, all right, well, January 3rd, you did the first search, and then you waited 4 months to do the second one. Why do you think they did that?
All through the woods. Cameras, when you first turn down that road that says smile, you're on camera. Private property, you will be shot. Some kind of signs like that. When I asked the police, where are this footage? Have you checked this footage? Oh yeah, we asked the people on the property, but yeah, there's nothing there.
They didn't see anything.
So and then they say, oh, it was erased, or somehow the cameras just disappear. They're not there anymore.
Right.
That's a big red flag.
And the big elephant in the room, the landowners, they invited us to their property. They invited us to search for Jason. They dictated where we could search, and they also dictated where we couldn't search. And where we couldn't search is where they found Jason's body. Huge red flag, right? And another red flag with that is they saw Jason the night of the accident. They were an eyewitness. They saw him. They were 100% sure they saw him. But no investigation is conducted on Jason's case. Zero. When you have all these red flags and no investigation happens. No trail cams are checked. No one is questioned the way they should have been questioned. Nothing. Then, in the police report from Frederick County, even Shenandoah 9/11 transcript, there is a property owner in Star Tannery that chases after Jason in his pickup truck. And he tells the 911 operator that he is also armed and isn't afraid. And then when you look at the state of the car that Jason took, that car looks like someone rammed it from behind. Completely destroyed from behind. And that man is never questioned, never investigated, nothing.
When I saw the tree, I just thought about when we went to search for him, how close we actually were to seeing him. And it just sucks that the cops, they didn't get to find him, And it was, when they found him, it was months later. So I feel like we couldn't even, I don't know, I just feel like we didn't get to probably bury him or say our goodbyes because they didn't find him. And the last time I had to see my brother was in a body bag. And I had to say my goodbye like that. So it's just like more traumatic than having to put him in a casket and saying my goodbye like that. I feel like the residents that lived there, they put thoughts into the cops. Like, I don't know, I feel like they guided the cops to look in a different area and not the proper like search they should have done. But they were just basically telling the cops that they thought my brother had like ran away or got picked up. But if they did the proper search that they were supposed to do around the car that crashed, they would have found my brother's body that day. I feel like they believed what those residents were saying because one of the cops actually personally knew them. So I feel like it was just personal involvement, and I don't think the cops were doing the right thing they were supposed to do.
But Jennifer kept asking the medical examiner, um, "Can you check Jason's clothes for any kind of DNA evidence?" And the medical examiner kept pointing the finger back to Winchester, Frederick County, that they needed to tell her to have his clothes checked for DNA, that she just couldn't do it on her own free will, that the police needed to tell her to do it. Then Jennifer would ask the police, Frederick County, "Hey, can you, the medical examiners tell me that you have to give her permission to check his clothes." And Frederick County kept telling her, "No, there's no need to do that. It's his belongings." So even Frederick County wouldn't even authorize to have Jason's clothes checked. His death was deemed undetermined, so that leaves everything wide open. So you don't know what happened to him. It could have been a complete accident, or it could have been a homicide. So I don't understand why they couldn't at least, this mother's asking for us to, check his clothes for DNA. Let's do it because it's undetermined death. So we have to, you know, cross out every possibility.
I know for a fact, you know for a fact, you both know for a fact, somebody out there knows what happened. All right? More than one person, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah.
All right? So it's a matter of putting a lot of pressure, okay, and getting the right people to do it. Okay? So
Oh,
documentation.
yeah, one more thing I forgot to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
That report from Winchester, they stated in the report that they dropped the ball and that they should have sent a helicopter out.
Okay.
They state that in the
Yeah.
report.
Everything that was a
They
mistake,
admitted to it.
And so they did that, and my son lost his life.
Yeah, they admitted to fucking up. Yeah, we fucked up.
So in all the documentation that you have in your book that you have, okay, you need to break that down and basically you're going to write a story, right? It's not just a time and day kind of thing, but you're going to write a book. You have to take that and write a book. All right. Now all that is important. It's extremely vital. Everybody's you don't want to know times, dates, and all that. All the 5 W's have to be covered, but what is going to turn people on, Jennifer, is your brokenness. You're a mother who's lost 2 sons with no answers. One to the Department of Defense and one to God knows who. Mm-hmm. People don't want to read. Most people are going to not want to read time and day. They're going to want to listen to the mom. They want to hear and feel your pain. And you got to sit down and you got to write that. And then we can start knocking on some doors, right? Go to Capitol Hill, okay, and start lobbying basically. Knocking on doors. You're going to get a lot of doors going to be shut in your face. A lot of them. But the more you show up, they will get tired. They get sick and tired and say, you know what, let them in. Let them go ahead. You got 5 minutes with the congresswoman. You got 5 minutes with the senator. And you know what? And you keep coming back. And you keep coming back until one of them starts to say, you know what? Let's get Senator so-and-so. Let's get Congressman so-and-so on this. Let's start making some calls. Let's call the director of the FBI is a good friend of mine. I just had lunch with him yesterday. Let me see if I can get him on the phone and see what I can do. Some of them will actually do something. A lot of them won't. But that someone that actually will do something may be the one that you need.
Jason, I hope you found peace in paradise with Corey. I pray he's watching over you, protecting you like he always did. Your mama and Karina miss you so much. There's not a single day that goes by without you in their hearts and thoughts. The emptiness left by your absence is felt every day. I promised you that I would fight for justice, and I will keep that promise. No mother should ever have to endure the pain your mama has faced. There are no words to capture the depth of her grief. I pray every day that she finds the strength to keep going. Her boys need her to fight, and I know she will. She deserves the justice she so desperately needs and deserves. One day we'll see you again and be reunited with you both. Until then, rest easy, son. We love you more than words can ever say. Goodbye.
If you would like to support this family, you can do more than just send a donation. You can also reach out to Jennifer directly with a kind message via email, which I will have in the description of this video. If you've experienced the loss of a loved one or have been through a similar situation, your support and perspective would be especially meaningful. Jennifer is open to hearing from others who may have advice or suggestions on how the family can pursue justice. Coping with the loss of someone you love is never easy, especially when it happens under heartbreaking and unusual circumstances, like what happened to Jason.